the mechanics of axe throwing. Welcome. I am Wes, and I am from Midgard Axe. How's everybody doing today? I hope you have brought your thinking caps and you're ready to learn, because I am going over the mechanics of axe throwing. Now, the mechanics of axe throwing basically I have broken them down into several different parts, okay? I will let you guys know ahead of time this is going to be a long video, okay? And the reason why it's going to be a long video is because I feel like it would be a detriment to you if I did not go over this in its entirety. I have tried to go over this several times and break it down to as small of a video as possible, and I just can't do it, okay? So with that being said, I almost guarantee though that at the end of this video, when you guys go outside to throw, you're going to get what I like to call PAC. And what I consider PAC is power, accuracy, and consistency, okay? So if you guys don't know anything about me or haven't seen my channel, go check it out. I don't do normal over the head with a hatchet throwing. I don't do the whole standing here throwing like a dart. That works for them. It doesn't work for me. That's not what I'm about. I'm about throwing hard with accuracy and consistency. What I like to call real world axe throwing. That's what I'm about, okay? So the mechanics of axe throwing are broken down into subsections here, okay? In order for you to be able to throw with power, accuracy, and consistency and have good throwing mechanics, these are what I think you should learn. Now, you may have to start with one before you move to the next one. You might have to get proficient at one before you move to the next. Some of you might be able to come into this and already know a lot of this stuff and you're able to pick it up really quick. Some of you, it's going to take time. Don't freak out. It's okay. I'm going to cover each one of these, and then at the end, what you're going to do is you're going to learn each one of these. The whole point of this is to take all this, throw it into one at the end, so you can do all of this in one motion. But like I said, you might have to take your time with each one and master each one before you put it all together, okay? So I want to cover one thing really quick before we get into the subcategories, which is what's called squaring up to your target. Squaring up to your target is very simple. It's basically what you're going to do when you go to throw at your target. You're going to square yourself up at the target, okay? So if you're standing here, so if I'm throwing here, I'm going to square myself up with the target. That's what you want to do first. So when I say square up to the target, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting yourself square, your shoulders, your hips, your knees. They're all facing the targets in some fashion or way. That's where you want to start off at first, okay? Stance. I have got 3 stances here that I have put down on this paper that I think would be good for anyone to start with. And as I go through these stances, I'm going to roll footage in of what these stances look like when you're throwing, okay? The first stance is going to be what I like to call an open stance, okay? And what an open stance is an open stance is you square up to the target, your left foot. Now, guys, this is all going to be for right-handers because I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, it's just the opposite, okay? So if you're standing here at the target, you're going to move your left foot just a hair forward, and you're going to move your non-throwing arm, your shoulder, towards the target just a little with your throwing shoulder back. So if I'm throwing here, I'm going to take a small step forward with my left foot and stand like this, okay? Now, this is my least favorite position. I don't care for the open stance. Open stance is really designed for quick throwing, okay? It doesn't have a lot of power behind it, okay? And it really doesn't have a ton of accuracy behind it. It is designed to basically take one step forward and throw, okay? you're kind of eliminating some of these things down here when you take an open stance. But the reason why I'm telling you about the open stance is because I've seen a lot of people have a lot of success with the open stance. My wife and daughter both, when they learned to throw axes, I tried to get them to do all these, and they ended up on the open stance, and it works for them, which is great. If you guys want to start with an open stance and then progress down, you can. Some people like it, some people don't. But the way that I use an open stance is if I need to throw fast, if I'm moving from position to position fast, it's basically, like I said, all it is just a step forward and throw. Okay, so it's not really designed for power. It's more for like quick release of the axe, moving to the next target. You're just trying to get on target. It can be accurate, but it's more like if you have a bigger target and you just want to get rid of the axe in different positions and different places. It's just a simple step and throw. Okay, so that's basically what the open stance is about. The closed stance. Okay, that's the second stance. The closed stance is basically the easiest way to explain it to you guys is if any of you watch baseball, it's basically like a pitcher on the mound who is pitching from the stretch with runners on. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to square up to your target, get an acquisition of what it is that you're throwing at, okay? But then, so if I'm throwing here, I'm going to square up to the target, understand where it is I'm throwing, understanding where I'm at, the distance of where I'm throwing. Then what you're going to do is you're going to turn your body completely sideways so that your shoulder and your head are in line with the target like this, okay? And that position right there is really good for accuracy, power, and consistency. You get all three of those. However, if I had to label it for a closed stance, I would say it's more about accuracy, consistency, and then power in those in that order. And the reason why is because you have more power with the closed stance than you do with the open because you're using your back foot to push off. So it's you're pushing off with your back foot. But you have a lot of accuracy this way because you're not having to turn your body around to throw. There's less movement in this position. It's basically just stand here and you step forward and throw. Okay, so it's similar to the open stance where you're throwing like this with the open, but the difference is that you're able to push off with your back foot better with a closed stance. And also the only thing you're having to really do is push off and throw, and your body's already oriented in that position to throw. Okay, so that's what basically the closed stance is. Then the last stance we have is what's called the modified stance. The modified stance is what I normally like to throw at. The modified stance is basically in between an open and closed. So you're not standing like this throwing and you're not standing like this throwing. It is literally your right foot is going to be in front of your left. So it's just opposite of the open. Instead of your left foot being forward, your throwing leg, the side that you throw with, your right foot is going to be forward and your left foot is going to be back, okay? And what happens is that the reason why I like throwing the modified stance so much is because this is where I get a lot of my power from. And I'll explain. When I'm standing here like this and I go to throw, most of your weight is on your left leg when you start this position. What happens is that when you transfer over into your right foot, all your weight now transfers to your right foot, and you transfer the weight kind of back onto the right half of your body, which then allows you to explode. Okay, so if you're standing here like this, all your weight is really on your back left leg, or it can be evenly distributed, either or. You come back and then all your weight comes back on your right leg and then you push off and explode, okay? This position, the modified position, is really good for distance throwing. It's really good for power. If I had to put it into the PAC, it would be power, accuracy, and then the least would be consistency. The consistency comes last with the modified because I use modified stance for power and for distance throwing. And when you start rotating an axe 5 and 6 times before it hits your target, you're talking about 60 to 80 feet, which is really far to throw an axe. So it's really hard to have consistency with that, but you can, but it's really designed for power and accuracy, especially when you're up close. When you guys have watched any of my videos where I'm standing up really close and I throw really hard and I cut like a melon in half, or I throw the axe really hard and I'm popping the balloons, usually I'm using a modified stance to throw really hard, okay? So keep that in mind. Try each one of these and see which one works for you. Maybe one works better for you than the other. I would suggest that you learn all three, because I normally take one of these positions when I'm doing axe throwing or I'm filming. I will take somewhat one of these types of positions. Now, when you get really good, you don't really need these anymore, okay? Everybody needs a basis to start from. And then when you get proficient, you can kind of do your own thing. I don't have to do any of these, okay? I've gotten to the point now to where I can throw different, I can run and throw, I can do a sideways throw, I can do all kinds of different things. But you really need to learn these three first before, you got to crawl before you walk. So try these three out, see which one works for you, and practice that one, okay? So the next one we're going to talk about is your throwing arm, which is kind of a no-brainer. That has power, accuracy, and consistency, all three mixed in together, okay? Now, here's where we start getting into actual throwing mechanics. If you guys go to an axe throwing facility, or you see people throw online, you'll see them using like a hatchet like this, and they'll take it and they'll kind of come up over their head like this and throw. There is a method to that kind of madness. Now, when you go into an axe throwing facility, they want you to have two hands on the axe. I get it. It's for safety reasons. They don't want people who have never thrown on one hand and throwing all kinds of crazy. However, that's not why I'm bringing it up. I'm bringing it up because there is a method to it. The reason why they have you come over your head with the axe is because when I take this up, if I try to come like this with the axe, all weird, look what happens. My right arm goes into my head, or my left arm goes into my head. You have to try to maintain a vertical position on this axe, which means that you try to get it as vertical as possible, and when it comes down, that bit is straight up and down when you release, okay? When you throw, you want to do what I like to call a back, up, and over throw. Now, before we get into back, up, and over, I want to tell you guys something. I do what's called a short arm throw, okay? And the reason why I do a short arm throw is because you don't want the axe moving around in your hand like this. You also don't want to swoop the axe down by your legs. So you don't want to, you're not gonna do one of these numbers. You're not coming down and up. Not only is it unsafe because you could cut your leg, but like I said, you don't want all this movement going on with the axe. You're not conducting an orchestra, okay? You're not doing all this. You don't want the axe moving around too much. So basically what it is, it's a short arm movement, which is what I like to call a back, up, and over, or back, up, and over the top. So if I'm standing here, and we'll get into a modified throwing position. Okay, so I'm in a modified throwing position and I come back. It is basically a back, up, and then over. Okay, so back, up, over, back, up, and over. And you want to try to get your arm as close to your head as possible. Okay, you want to try to get that position, because when you get as close as you can to your head and throw like this, you're almost taking the same position as this. You're getting that axe as vertical as possible when you come back up and over and release. You want that bit up and down. You want your axe as vertical as possible. So it's back, up, and over. Back, up, and over, okay? I don't recommend you guys getting into throwing sidearm. And I know you guys probably are going to say, Wes, you throw sidearm. I know I do. But you have to master the back, up, and over first, because if you start throwing sidearm, which is what I see a ton of kids doing, is that they'll kind of do this number, okay? And when they start throwing sidearm, watch what happens to my wrist when I try to throw sidearm. Just without thinking, I just throw. Look at the axe head. Not like this, it's like this. So when you start throwing and the axe is spinning, it's going to hit the target like this. Instead of like this, it's going to be like that. And you're not going to stick, because you have to have wrist control, which is another video I'm going to do, which is about wrist control, because that's very important too. But don't get into axis throwing sidearm, okay? You can do it. You guys have seen some of my videos where I throw, and when the axe hits the target, it's in the target like this instead of like this. It's because I threw sidearm, but you have to have wrist control when you do that. So I suggest not get into throwing sidearm right now and practice that back up and over position. You want, even if you just go outside and stand here with a handle or an axe, you can do it without an axe head on. You can just take an axe handle going, you can do it inside. And you're just going to stand here back up and over, back up and over. Practice getting your wrist control and the back up and over position. You don't want all this going on when you're going back. It's swift, short movements, back up, over, okay? That's basically what it is with your throwing arm. The next thing we're going to talk about is going to be your non-throwing arm. A lot of people don't understand that your non-throwing arm plays a big part in your power. It comes with a little bit of accuracy, but it's mainly about your power. And you're probably thinking, Wes, what does my non-throwing arm got anything to do with my power? Okay, when you guys get a chance, go outside and throw something. Throw a baseball, throw a football, mostly baseball or something like that. Or go outside if you have an axe throwing thing out front. Go outside and throw an axe. Take your non-throwing arm and stick it to your side and don't move it and try to throw and feel how weird that is. Then try to throw with power with your arm just down by your side. You're going to find that your throwing arm is going to try and overcompensate because your arm, your non-throwing arm is stuck to your side and you're not going to be very accurate. That's why I say that your non-throwing arm has power, but it also comes with accuracy too. So when I'm standing here with my non-throwing arm, there are two things that your non-throwing arm does. One, and I'm going to take a closed stance in this. One is going to be a guide. Your non-throwing arm is a guide to your target. This, or you can even point your elbow. One of the three. I kind of do like one of these numbers, but you know, I suggest either you point, you bend your arm, or you point your elbow. Okay, that is kind of like I said, your guide to where you're going to throw. So if I'm going to throw over there, I'm going to take my arm, I'm going to point, or I'm going to take my arm or my elbow. Okay, it's kind of like your guide. Two, this is where the power comes in. This arm, when you throw, so when you go to throw, it is going to pull down like this. And what that does is that when you pull this arm down, you are whipping your upper body around when you do that, okay? So it's literally taking the axe head, it's coming, and then you pull and you throw. So it's pulling your upper body down, you're boom, okay? So you're pulling this down, it's pulling your back across in your arm faster. And the harder you pull, the faster and harder you're going to throw. So guys, keep that in mind. Pay attention to your non-throwing arm. It has a lot of benefits to really pulling down to get you the power you need. Next is going to be your hips. Now people, when they throw, usually move their hips a little bit. They understand that their hips move, but I don't think people realize how important your hips are for power and accuracy, okay? Just like this arm is, your non-throwing arm is pulling down to throw, your hips are doing the same thing, but they're doing it for your lower body at the same time this is doing it for your upper body. So as you go back, your arm's coming down and your hips are twisting around, okay? Like a boom. So not only do you have your left arm controlling your upper body, but your hips are exploding too as you throw. You know what I mean? Just like a boom. So really pay attention to your hips. If you can't use your hips when you first start throwing in a powerful way, start off slow, recognizing that your hips play a role in your power. And as you get better with more accuracy, you can start implementing your hips just a little bit more and a little bit more until you get to the point where you're boom and you're throwing hard, okay? I'm going to put a video in now of me doing just that, where I'm going to show you guys right here how I get set up and I throw really hard at the target using my using my hips, using my arm to pull down, and how it really rotates my body around, okay? That is what you need to use for power. Don't forget about your hips. Next is your back foot. Now, I will tell you this. Your back foot plays a minimal role with an open stance. It does project you off and towards your target when you're standing with an open stance with your left foot forward. You are pushing off with your back foot, but you're not pushing off with a lot of power because your balance is a little off. You have all the weight already on your back leg, and then you're trying to push yourself forward. So it's basically really just kind of like the balls of your feet and your toes are pushing you forward. That's the only thing you're going to get from your back foot with an open stance, is basically you're taking a step forward, your weight is transferring forward. So the only thing your back foot has now to push you forward is the ball of your foot and your toes. That's what you're getting on your push off with your back foot, which is why I say that the open stance doesn't come with a lot of power. However, the back foot plays a huge role in your closed and modified stance. When you're closed here like this, and you're standing at the target and you go back to throw, your back foot is angled. You guys can't see my feet. In an open stance, if I'm standing here like this, my right foot is like this right now, okay? It's standing like this, and then it comes forward. But with a closed stance, of course, you can see I'm turned. My foot is like sideways now. So when I put all the weight on my back foot and I push off, I've got my entire foot on the ground that is got all the weight on it that is lunging me forward when I throw. And that adds a ton of power to your throw. Don't discount your back foot. Pushing off, coming forward, it is literally key to getting power, is that back foot. A lot of people don't realize that. When they go outside and throw, they just kind of throw. They don't really even consider their back foot. They just kind of lift it up in the air. Push off, even with a closed stance. When I'm standing here like this with my left leg back, I'm taking a closed stance whenever I come forward. So when I'm standing here, I'm taking a closed stance and I push off. Don't forget about your back foot. It'll bring you a lot of power. And last, but certainly not least, is going to be your follow through, which in my opinion is going to be one of probably the most important ones out of all this, other than maybe your throwing arm. Follow through is really, really important when you're throwing anything, especially axes. And the reason why it's more important when you throw an axe is because when I was telling you guys earlier that when you come back and throw, you don't want your axe head moving around, you don't want a lot of movement. When you practice follow through, you're following all the way through. If you guys watch some of my videos, you'll see me. When I stand here and I throw and I'm done, I come over, I bend over, and I'm following through with my throw. That gives you power, it gives you accuracy, and more times than not, it's big on consistency. I don't know if any of you guys have played baseball before. If you haven't played baseball before, I'm sure everyone's hit a piñata or something similar. If you go to hit a piñata with a stick, are you going to stop the stick when it hits the piñata, or are you going to follow that stick all the way through? Or in baseball, when you're standing there and you're up the bat, and you're standing there like this and the ball comes, you're not going to stop your bat when the ball hits the bat, are you? No, of course not. You're going to stand here like this, and when that ball comes, you're going to boom, okay? You're going to keep the bat all the way through. It's the same with throwing. When you throw an axe, to maintain that consistency and accuracy, you really have to follow through with your throws. So, when I'm standing here and I go through all the motions, I'm standing here in my stance, I'm doing the back up and over, my left arm is pulling down, my hips are rotating, my back foot is pushing off, and I get here, I just don't let go and stand here. Okay? You're going to lose a ton of power that way. And I see so many people watching videos of people throwing axes that this is just, a lot of them do this. They go, well, are you going to finish it? You need to finish it. It comes with all of that. The PAC, it comes with all of it. So you're standing here, you should be throwing and then coming over the top, bringing your hand down, following through, lifting your right leg up in the air. It should be a power, consistent accuracy every single time. Boom, boom, boom. You should be following through. Every time following that axe. You want to follow your axe to that target, okay? Follow it to the target. You don't want to just stop midway. You don't want to release and then stand straight up. That's another thing I see a lot of people do too, is that when they're throwing with one arm, they'll kind of throw and then they'll stand straight up, which kills your follow through. Don't do that. If you want to do accurate shots consistent with power, your follow through is key. It's following through the throw, okay? Just keep that in mind next time when you go to throw. Are you following through on your throws? Check it out. See if you are. Have someone watch you. Videotape yourself. Have someone come outside and videotape you with their camera. That is a big thing that people forget to do. You can have someone come outside and videotape you throwing an axe 4 or 5 times at your target. That's all you need. Watch your throw 4 or 5 times, have them videotape you, go back and rewatch it, and see if you're doing all these, okay? And see if your follow through is where it needs to be when you're ending your throw, okay? So we've gone over the mechanics of axe throwing. We've gone over each one of these that I've labeled. If you guys want to get better at axe throwing, you're going to have to start here. If you want to get better at throwing anything, you have to have mechanics. Mechanics are what make up everything about throwing. If you don't have mechanics, you're not going to be able to throw. And if by chance you can throw, you're not going to have accuracy or consistency. It's going to be luck of the draw every time you throw an axe or anything. It's just going to be luck. You have to practice this, and you have to get so good at it that you can forget to do 2 of these and still hit your target with accuracy and power. That's how good, if you want to be good at throwing, that's how good you need to get. If you just want to learn how to throw, take each one of these things and just practice them at home, in the backyard, wherever you can throw, or even, like I said, just take an axe handle and just practice all of this. Practice, start at your stance, move down the line. If you need to incorporate, and then start with 2, your stance and throwing, your throwing arm, and then move down to the next one, move to your non-throwing arm, and then move to your back foot, so on and so forth. I hope that I was able to give you guys a little bit of information on the mechanics of throwing. I'm going to touch a little bit more about this as the weeks and months go. When I keep making videos, I'll throw in some things here and there that I think would help, some tips and tricks maybe for your throwing arm or here and there. So please make sure you subscribe to me, because I'm going to give you guys a ton of information that's going to give you your PAC, okay? Because that's what everybody wants when they start throwing, right? You don't want to go out there and tickle the target with the tip of your axe, do you? No, you want to sink that thing. So subscribe to me, check me out. I'm always going to be making some cool videos like this with instructions. I do like making shorts, but I also like making stuff like this. This is the reason why I got on YouTube. This right here is the reason why I started a YouTube channel. My goal in all this was to show you guys cool axe throwing videos, but I want to give you the knowledge that someone has taught me, because it works. And I think I've proven that on all my social media platforms, and you will continue to see me making videos of throwing. But this right here will get you where you need to be. And if you practice this, you can do the exact same thing I do. It's not hard, guys. You just got to practice. So with that being said, I really hope that this video found you. I hope that you were able to learn something from it. And I hope that you can subscribe and stick around and see what else I can teach you guys, and watch some more cool throwing videos. Until next time, guys. See ya.